The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across the marble foyer as Elena Santos clutched her worn canvas bag, her hands trembling so violently she could barely maintain her grip. Behind her, Margaret Whitmore's voice cut through the air like a blade, each word dripping with contempt and certainty. "Security will escort you out. Consider yourself fortunate I'm not pressing charges, though perhaps I should. Stealing from the family that gave you everything, you people are all the same." Elena's dark eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of Margaret Whitmore and her guests who had gathered in the foyer like spectators at an execution. She had worked in this mansion for 3 years, caring for 7-year-old Sophie with a devotion that transcended duty, and now she was being paraded out like a common criminal over a diamond bracelet she had never touched. The security guard's hand hovered near her elbow, not quite touching but making his purpose clear. Elena's mind raced, searching desperately for the right words, the perfect defense, but what could she say? The bracelet had been found in her room, tucked inside her pillowcase where anyone could have placed it. Her word, the word of a 42-year-old immigrant nanny, meant nothing against Margaret Whitmore's accusation. "Please, Mrs. Whitmore," Elena whispered, her accent thickening with emotion. "I would never. Sophie, she knows I would never. Don't you dare speak my daughter's name." Margaret's perfectly manicured hand rose in a gesture of dismissal. "Sophie is being kept in her room precisely so she doesn't have to witness this disgrace. The therapist says the betrayal from someone she trusted will require months of counseling to overcome." Elena felt something inside her chest crack and splinter. Sophie, her sweet, brilliant, lonely little girl who had clung to Elena's hand during thunderstorms, who had whispered her dreams and fears while Elena braided her hair, who had started calling her Mama Lena when no one else was listening. The thought of Sophie believing she had stolen from the family, believing Elena had betrayed her, was more painful than any accusation. As the security guard finally took her arm, a small voice pierced the tension like a silver bell. "She didn't do it." Every head turned toward the grand staircase. Sophie stood at the top in her white nightgown, her blonde hair tangled from sleep, her blue eyes blazing with a fury that seemed far too large for her small frame. She gripped the banister with both hands, her knuckles white. "Sophie, darling, go back to your room," Margaret said, her voice shifting to the artificially sweet tone she used when guests were present. "This doesn't concern you." "Yes, it does." Sophie's voice rose, cracking with emotion. "Elena didn't steal your stupid bracelet. I know she didn't because I took it." The foyer erupted in gasps and murmurs. Elena's legs nearly gave out. Margaret's face flushed crimson, cycling rapidly through shock, anger, and something that looked almost like fear. "Sophie Whitmore, you will go to your room this instant," Margaret commanded, but Sophie was already running down the stairs, her bare feet slapping against marble. She threw herself at Elena, wrapping her arms around the nanny's waist with desperate strength. "I'm sorry, Mama Lena. I'm so sorry. I put the bracelet in your room. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted." Her words dissolved into sobs. Elena dropped to her knees, gathering the little girl close, her own tears finally breaking free. "Shish, Amor, it's okay. Everything is okay. How dare you?" Margaret hissed, striding forward and trying to pull Sophie away. "You've manipulated my daughter, turned her against her own family." "No." Sophie wrenched away from her mother's grasp with surprising force. "Elena didn't do anything. You never listen, Mother. You never listen to anyone." Robert Whitmore emerged from his study, drawn by the commotion. The technology mogul looked haggard, his tie loosened, his eyes carrying the permanent exhaustion of a man who had built an empire at the expense of everything else. "What's going on here?" "Your daughter," Margaret said, her voice icy, "is making wild accusations to protect the help." "I'm not making it up." Sophie whirled on her father, and Elena saw raw desperation in the child's face. "I took the bracelet and I hid it in Elena's room because I wanted you both to spend time looking for it together. I thought if you had to search the house, work on something together, maybe you'd remember you used to love each other. Maybe you'd stop fighting all the time. Maybe you'd remember I exist." The silence that followed was suffocating. Elena watched the color drain from both parents' faces as Sophie's words hit their mark. Margaret's hand fluttered to her throat. Robert seemed to age 10 years in an instant. "I wanted you to have to talk to each other, Sophie continued, her voice breaking. All you do is yell or ignore each other. You ignore me. Elena is the only one who actually sees me, who talks to me, who cares about what I think and feel. And now you're sending her away and I'll have no one and I can't. She couldn't finish. Her small body shook with sobs that seemed to come from somewhere ancient and deep. Elena pulled her close again, murmuring soft Spanish words of comfort, rocking her gently as she had done countless times during nightmares and fears. Robert moved first, kneeling beside them with uncharacteristic uncertainty. Sophie, sweetheart, I had no idea you felt. Of course you didn't, Sophie said, her voice muffled against Elena's shoulder. You're never here, and when you are here, you're on your phone or fighting with mother or sleeping. The only time you asked about my day in the last month was when Elena reminded you at dinner. Each word was a small detonation. Elena glanced up to see tears streaming down Robert's face, his composure completely shattered. Margaret stood frozen, her carefully